What's up, everyone? Welcome to another of Dre's Thoughts with Dre. Obviously, me. I've been offline for a little while. I was kind of dealing with a little bit of a cold, but feeling a lot better now. So let's get right into it. I'm sure you all have been watching the latest news and been hearing about Trump with these. Well, he's been doing a lot of things lately, but the one I want to kind of highlight a bit is the banning of people from the seven Muslim countries from coming into the states, or if they're leaving the states, being able to get back into the states. Even if they're green card holders or they lived in the states and just going to visit family or work or what have you, making it harder for them to get back into the states. And like I said, the ones that were from those seven countries coming into the United States. And his fears that they're all associated with terrorism and crazy acts of violence. And it's so weird because as far as the terrorists, most of those places that the terrorists actually did come from, that committed like the 9/11 attacks, those countries aren't banned. So it's kind of weird. He's banning countries that actually had no relevance to some of our most horrendous and incredulous acts that ever happened on American land, and he's banning countries that he just think is up to no good. And then on top of that, we know that he had his strong disdain and dislike for Muslims, which isn't fair. The seven countries, and a couple of them been African countries. And as you've been watching the news, you've just been seeing the terror and the melancholy and just the haplessness that's just been just permeating throughout the states, in the airports, and families. Now it's harder for people to see families. Some people are risk losing their jobs because they can't get back to the states to go back to work. Students are having a hard time of getting back into the states to be able to go to school, or leaving the states to go to school and fear not being able to get back in. I mean, we have this last big award show we had. We had a couple actresses and producers that didn't even go to the awards because just the band they had, they were afraid they wouldn't be able to get in or get back out, so they just didn't even come. And it's horrible when you think about it, because this is some of their work. And now, out of fear of this ban that President Trump has enacted, people are afraid to travel, especially from to and from those seven Muslim related countries, and it's just not right. I know I know Trump is trying to heighten the security and protect the country, and trying to decrease the terrorist attacks and terrorist threats and violence, and I get that. But I feel like to highlight a specific religion, or group, to me comes off more discriminatory and comes off more, I don't want to say racist. Maybe some of you all may look at it as racist, but just more discriminatory and unfair. I mean, and then obviously he gave a pass for Christians. He said in one of his interviews with on one of the shows a while back how Christians had it hard in the past, so now he wants to look out for Christians, so Christians get free passes to kind of move about however they please, but Muslims are the ones right now that's going through it. And all Muslims are not here from any of those seven countries or anywhere else are coming here to commit acts of violence. Most of them are here to better their lives, create opportunities for themselves, their family lives, their children, and just here to work and and trying to get a piece of the American dream like any of us. So to group them all together, I think is a big stereotype, unfair stereotype, and very discriminatory. And I just think it's not right. And I'm glad that a lot of the Supreme Court judges and a lot of judges are stepping in now to try to cut into this ban. For a while they had it where people that were getting detained at all these airports were either at first getting sent right back. They couldn't even leave the airport. Now they're having it where if people get detained and they have green cards or have certain situations, they won't be sent back to wherever they came from. They'll let them stay. And then you see it on news, people being able to, after being detained and interrogated for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, finally being able to leave the airport and go be with their families or whatever. I had the one guy who was trying to get into, as part of the Olympics. He was afraid about leaving and coming and going because he was afraid he wasn't going to be able to get back to and fro. But obviously the committee said he would be allowed. So I do appreciate the courts and the judges stepping in, to kind of cut into it now and give some leeway for some of the detainees and people that are from the countries that do have green cards or do have special circumstances where they are able to get to the states, and not have to worry about the pressure and the punishment and reprimand that President Trump has put on millions. I mean, millions are affected by this. I mean, you see the protests outside of O'Hare airports and just airports all over the United States. You got protests everywhere. It's just insane. And, but see, the thing is, I knew this from the get-go that once he got into the country, a lot of things wasn't going to go right. And he's just kicking it off, and then you have the sanctuary cities now, as far as the whole border around Mexico, and he wants to now impose a 20% tax on Mexican imported Mexican products to cover the cost of the wall. And now the countries that don't want to I guess, concur with this proposed law and proposed, I guess, idea of putting this wall with Mexico, he wants to cut their funding, which Chicago's one of those cities, excuse me. Chicago's one of those cities. San Francisco and New York is also taking part. And then you got companies like Uber and Apple and other companies that are stepping out to cater to help refugees and help out as far as these cities that are going to lose funding because they're taking a stance against this wall and against this banning and deportation of detainees and people from these 7 Muslim countries. It's just not right what he's doing. And then it's like, now you're going to ban, you're going to cut funding for cities and countries that don't want to take part in this, and see, I don't think that's right, because, and it's not fair that now refugees can't come into these cities and can't come into these countries, and for the countries and cities that do want to stand up and support the refugees, give them a place to stay, welcome and open their doors, they're going to get in trouble. They'll lose funding. And for some of us, that's a hard one to swallow because we need the funding, whether it's for schools or hospitals or other different programs that rely on government funding. Now with the threat of losing that does put us in a very tight position. But it's one of those things where we just have to take a stance and maybe just eat the cost. So I don't know. There's something to think about as you go out throughout your week and you see affected families and affected people from those countries or affected people that have family members or friends from those countries. Just think about them and keep them in your prayers. From This is Dre's thoughts. This is Dre. Stay encouraged, my friends. Peace.